I did have a note about getting into a fight during an ocean swim.
Oh yeah,
That
was fun. Yeah, so when I rolled in with 287, man, like that was the that was the only class where I felt like I didn't get along with anybody. Especially just being like one of the only guys to roll in. They were just I mean, I love the dudes now that made it through, and it just took me a while to kind of for them to warm up to me and me to warm up to them, but it was just like a lot of nerdy shit, and like I just wasn't down with the humor, and it's just weird. And one of these guys, so we shared like in the cage where we kept all of our dive gear. He had a locker right above mine, and he didn't make it through. He ended up getting dropped at the end of SQT, which tells you something. But he just always had this like fucking attitude problem. And I'm like, dude, you're not even like a badass. Like you can't be popping off like that. And I mean, I didn't say that, but that's what I'm thinking. Like, I will tear you up, boy. And so we had an ocean swim, and his swim buddy and my swim buddy both went to medical that day. And so they paired us together, and I talked to the JO. I was like, listen, man, you cannot put me with this guy. And he's like, well, why not? I was like, it's not going to be good. Like, we hate each other, and he's like, well, you're swimming. And he's like, you'll be fine. I was like, dude, I'm telling you, bro, it's like, it's not a good idea. And he's like, you're swimming with him. I was like, all right, man, I tried to warn you. So, we do our inspections, whatever, and we go out into the surf, get past the surf zone. And I always swam on like the flank, like the furthest out, because I didn't want to be in the middle of the pack getting like kicked in the face and like starting off slow, So I would always go to the furthest, as far out in the ocean as I could. And so that's what I did. I was like, come on, like, let's go over here. And he's like, I'm staying here. I was like, all right, dude. And I was like, I'm swimming over here. And it was like 3, 2, 1, bust him. And so I start swimming, and I see him swimming towards me. I was like, yeah, motherfucker. Well, he swims up to me, and he cracks me in the face and breaks my mask.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, dude. So I like lunged at him. I like grabbed him by the throat, and I like put him under. And then he's like coming up, and I was about to take my dive knife out and just stab this dude. And then I pushed off. I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, we're on time here. Like, this isn't good. So I pushed off, and I raised my hand. Instructor comes over on a jet ski. He's like, what's going on? I was like, my mask broke. He's like, well, you're swimming without one. I was like, check. So I just start swimming. And then the whole time we're swimming, like every time I come up, he's like talking shit to me. He's like, you motherfucker. He's like, fuck you. And I'm just thinking about how I'm going to like rip him apart.
So you're thinking to yourself, hey, I need to chill the fuck out even though he's talking shit. We need to just get through this, whatever. And then did he continue to talk shit the entire time until you got back in?
So, yeah, like every time we came up for air, he was just jawing at me. And I'm just thinking about how I'm going to like piece this dude up when the swim's over, And then we got to the 1 mile marker, and I forget exactly what happened, but basically the instructors ended up separating us. Like he was saying something like, I can't swim with this guy, or we need to switch. And they're like, what the fuck is going on? And so the instructors are like, all right, this swim pair, you guys break off. You swim with Collins, you swim with Smith. So, and these guys, they're just doing their swim. They don't know what's happening. And so, we finish the swim, and when we go to report in our times, you swim pair 30, 65, 78 or whatever. So we go up to the truck, and I'm like, swim pair 12, 65, 30. And he's like, my swim buddy's like, swim pair 9, whatever his time was. And the instructor in the truck's like, what the fuck? And so then, it gets to the proctor, and, everybody finishes up the swim, and, the JO who generated the swim list, he comes up to me. He's like, what the fuck happened? I was like, I told you, bro. I was like, I told you something was going to happen. And then, like, right after that, they're like, oh, I see LPO. And, they go running across the grinder, and then they muster us up, and then they beat us. And I think we got a letter, like, the jock up letters or whatever. And I think we got like a O or a C or whatever. And then, so then our proctor pulls my swim buddy and I into the office, and he's like, "What the fuck happened?" And he's looking at both of us, and he goes, "Collins, what happened?" I was like, "Well, the swim started, and he swam up to me and punched me in the face and broke my mask." And it just went downhill from there. And he looks at my swim buddy. He goes, "Is that true?" And dude, this guy, you could hear the bitch in his voice. He's like, "Petty Officer Collins is picking on people in the class, and nobody." And I was like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, bro. He's like, "He's a bully." I was like, this is crazy, dude. It's like, now's your chance to like be like, "Yeah, I punched him in the fucking face because he's an asshole," right? But I mean, he just turned into a pussy. Well, I mean, he was a pussy, and it just came through. And he's like, "All right." He's like, "We'll deal with this later." And then, they beat the class. And then, so this is post pool comp. And that night we had a night dive. And, we do the dive or whatever. And I'm like, I can't get this out of my head. And then I see him like running around the grinder with like his buddies, and they're like high-fiving and like, "Yeah, you showed him," and blah, 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 and this and that. And I'm like, getting angrier and angrier, and I'm just like thinking about, how do I handle this? And there was 2 dudes in the class that I was real tight with, and after the dive was over, we were hanging out, like we were getting all the gear, deconned or whatever, and they were the medical guys, and they were in the med truck, and I went up to them, I was like, what do you guys think about this? Like, I feel like I need to handle this. And I was like, I don't want to get like dropped from training or something. I was like, but I can't let this slide. And they're like, "No, man, you can't let this slide." I was like, "All right." And that was one thing that the proctor said to us. He was like, "You two need to figure it the fuck out and then move on." And so when I talked to my buddies, they're like, "Yeah, you need to fucking handle it." I was like, "All right, check." So, it's like 2 a.m. Everybody at this point, as long as you're with a swim buddy, you can kind of go to and from the barracks and the grinder or wherever. So where the gate is that leads to the beach, it's got like a little corner on the other side of it, and I kind of I was done with my collaterals, and I pulled off, and I just hung in this corner, and I was just watching guys run back to the barracks, and onesie twosies and little groups or whatever, and I was just waiting for him, and he was like one of the last swim pairs to head back to the barracks, and I was like, "Yo, Smith," and he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "We got unfinished business, bro." He's like, "Okay." And so we went up and over the berm, and I took my helmet off, I dropped my ruck, and I was like, "Let's do this." And we fucking threw down, and I tuned him up, and there was another guy that was kind of saw it happen, or saw me call him out, and so he was like kind of watching us. He just sat up on the berm and watched us, and just made sure we didn't kill each other. And then after that, we kind of dusted each other off and went back to the barracks, and I remember guys were on the phone with their girlfriends and shit, and just eating pizzas and hanging out. And my one buddy's on the phone, and he looks at me, and he looks at him, and he looks at me, he looks at him. He's like, "I fucking love this place." And the next day, the proctor, he saw him, and he was all green, brown, black eye, and he looks at him, he looks at me. He's like, "Well, I guess you all figured it out." And it was that was it. So it was. I'm glad it didn't go further than that, because with these days, he probably could have ran to the CO or somebody and cried about it, and But I was like, I just can't fucking let that slide, man. It's we had a beef, and we settled it like men. It's like that was that. And
did you guys say anything to each other? At the end, was it almost a kind of coming to terms, okay, we're cool now, or was it just more?
It was. We kind of argued a little bit afterwards. It didn't really get squashed. I mean, I got my point across, but I mean, I still didn't like the guy, and he didn't like me, and down the road, he ended up getting kicked out of training. So it was like, all right, later.
Do you know why he got kicked out?
it was something outside of like, I can't speak to it, but it was something weird that happened where he kind of like lost it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting hearing even how the instructors handled it in the moment. Like, having been an instructor, my first thought was, if that had been me, like when I pulled up, I'd be like, if I see one more fucked up thing between you two, you both fucking fail.
Yeah.
Put your fucking head back down and fucking swim.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't have even been
Yeah.
like, no, you split up. I'd be like, hey, fucking dipshits.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't know. It's surprising that they even...
Split us up.
Yeah,
yeah.
like,
It was a very weird moment because I just figured we were gonna just finish the swim and then handle it after that. But he started waving down like an instructor on the jet ski, and he's like, "Collins is a fucking asshole." I'm like, dude, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it's like the get along shirt for your kids, you know.